Welcome to Salve, a therapeutic podcast for digital ailments. We're here to ease your online aches and entrepreneurial anxieties, one session at a time, with our host Jordan Brannon and today's guest, Erik Christiansen from JustUno. Today's worrying condition, the sharp pain in the chest derived from failing conversion rates.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Salve, where we help you diagnose and treat the pain points you experience as a digitally focused business. Today, we are going to deal with that burning sensation in the center of your chest that comes from having a lot of question marks around how you acquire customers, how you retain them, and how you ultimately convert them. I am really happy to have Erik Christiansen with me from JustUno, another great partner of Coalitions, one that we work with on a number of our clients already. Erik is going to help us with navigating that self-diagnosis, self-treatment today. Erik, would you mind jumping in and giving us a little bit of an overview about who you are and what JustUno is and what you all do there?
Sure thing, Jordan. Thanks for having me. Hello, everyone. Erik Christiansen, CEO of JustUno. Quick background, former retailer myself from 2005 to 10. Built an online snowboard business up to 20 million in a quick 5 years. And then from that, I was acquired in 2010. We launched JustUno, which is kind of a brainchild out of Sierra Snowboard, where we were really just our growth at Sierra was we were just obsessed with creating the best online customer experience for snowboarders.
Okay.
And through that, we learned the value of investing into your customer. And one of the things that stood out that we learned is that customers like coupons.
Mm-hmm.
And that hasn't changed today. And we launched JustUno in 2011 and brought pop-ups to the market, and were quickly, laughed off the street and told to go away, because if someone's on their website, why would they need a coupon? And I don't need an email address. So 15 years later, we're still fighting the good fight for the online customer experience to help both the customer shop and convert and the retailer themselves to increase sales.
So, Erik, I wanted to double click on that starting point, because it's kind of similar to Joel and I's. We started out doing e-commerce stores as our way of really getting out of the dorms and into a slightly better apartment and paying off some of that school debt while we were still in school. So we actually built some B2B e-commerce stores where we did drop shipping on a variety of products. So how did you sort of land with Sierra Snowboards? Like, what was the brainchild, the narrative arc for that?
That's so funny, because in college to study abroad, I had no money. And so during the summer, I did web design.
Okay.
And I did the program semester at sea, which was really, I had to save up a lot, but then also I still had to pay for it. So I got the domain semesteratsea.net, and was selling individual web pages for kids to upload photos. This was in 1999, before MySpace and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And my dad was a developer, so I grew up around computers myself. And so I was always interested in it, but I was more interested in the business and design side. So I had the background. And then in 2005, I was on a road trip through Central America, and my buddy sent me an email saying, "Hey, I need a website. I have a warehouse. I have inventory." So I went up and I worked by myself. I was one person, and had a couple warehouse people to help me, but essentially did $1 million in sales in the first year with a out of the box solution from Counterpoint, which was Radiant way back in the day.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, we started out with I think OS Commerce or some Open Cart, something like that was the first one. We didn't have somebody come to us with the inventory. We literally did the phone book, and then if you looked like a manufacturer in the phone book, we called you, and we were like, I don't know if you've heard of e-commerce. Would you be interested in doing drop shipping for us? So we were drop shipping bros before that became a thing, and it worked well enough. It took us through college, and both of us ended up abandoning our actual careers for e-commerce and for digital marketing as a consequence of our experience there. So cool to share that journey. Now, again, we're dialing in on pain points. We're dialing in on things that just keep people in digital marketing and e-commerce or trying to operate a digitally focused business up at night. The things that cause our hair to fall out a little bit faster, change color a little faster, add some not so laugh lines around the face. So you had sent in the show questionnaire, and you flagged, what is the pain point? What's the size of the pain point? You dropped an $18 billion number there. Can you sort of talk about the scope of the pain? That's a pretty significant deal. And maybe
Yeah.
explain that for us.
No, I'm really like fired up on the subject because in my 20 years in e-commerce, the number one problem that still persists is that 97% of visitors to websites leave without buying.
Yeah.
It's a problem. It's still a problem. And I've really been working the last 3-6 months to take all these 20 years of experience and create a formula that will allow businesses to implement and see immediate ROI to help solve the problem. And it's one that works in perfect harmony with partners like yourself, because part of it is retargeting. It's all about capturing leads. It's all about identifying anonymous visitors and then converting them. And the number 1 and 2 ways you can increase sales is real-time on-site cart abandonment exit offers.
Yep.
And then retargeting the captured visitors and the anonymous visitors.
Yeah.
That's simple.
Yep. So kind of looking at that WebMD moment, that opportunity or prompting in your head that says, I need to get this checked out. Where does that typically occur for a brand? Because one of the things we find with conversion rates is there is this perception of good enough. Like brands hit a ceiling of, I convert at 1.5%, therefore I will convert at 1.5% in perpetuity. And we're always aiming for 1.5%. But so where do you what is sort of the thing you want someone to sit up and pay attention to and say, like, I know because of this that I have this issue happening?
It's an interesting question because myself, I used to be a retailer and I understand what it's like to be growing a business at 300%. You're so busy fulfilling orders and driving in traffic that you don't care about a percent here or there because you're making so much money and growing. Presently, with customer acquisition costs, iOS updates, tariffs, the economy, you name it, it's gotten a lot harder for retailers to make a living. And so what do? We look inward. And when you look inward, that's when you become resourceful and sustainable. And that is where we are in today's market, which makes me really happy to see, not that people are struggling, but that they're actually looking to build a sustainable business.
Yeah.
And so when I work with clients, it's really refreshing these days because you go in and you see and you can talk to them. You go, look, if we look at your data, your top 2 abandoned items represent 70% of what's being abandoned. Like if we just focus on this low-hanging fruit, this 1 or 2 products, we can make you more money.
Yeah.
And I think part of the, why have we gotten to such a bad point is that it's hard. No one owns that. So many people own driving traffic, but very few companies have someone that own that function.
Yeah. That's a really good call.
Yeah. Or it's hard to take action on it. And so, and if you go way back 15, 20 years, JustUno was really the idea and concept spawned because we could see people leaving. Google used to provide you with the actual data in your analytics that was useful, but you could see people would leave and go search for coupons and come back and buy. And so we ranked up above Retail Me Not. Was able to display our coupon codes on our snowboard forums, and that traffic that came through using those codes we saw had a sales conversion rate far above all our other channels.
Yep.
So we know coupons work, and
Mm.
the thing is, we don't have to use coupons, but it's a very powerful tool.
Yeah, it's that's a good call. I think one of the things we have seen as marketers is that moment where we begin to compete with affiliates, and often the affiliates are paid better than your own direct marketing, right? Like we'll see that where the commission rate for the affiliate or the CPC for an affiliate is actually better than what the marketing team is willing to pay for a paid acquisition of somebody top funnel, mid funnel, bottom of funnel with Google Ads or with Meta. And we'll try and highlight that and say, like, hey, this coupon visitor is not a first time visitor. You are layering that acquisition cost in on top of other acquisition costs. And you're also, in this particular instance, that customer is they're ingrained now to sort of not trust your site. They're going to look to a third party as being the authority on your pricing, which also creates a challenge, which I think is one of the things that JustUno really does help to solve is you sort of keep that ball in your court and help, again, the customer doesn't feel like there's a better resource for a better deal or a better price someplace else. It really is about you. Now, kind of going back to sort of the, just sort of that benchmarking of pain, is there a great resource that either JustUno provides or others provide that you could point to that maybe give a retailer some benchmarks about, hey, where they should be landing in terms of conversion rates, what maybe their loss rate is in some of these places because of abandonment or that sort of anonymous visitor? Do you do some internal reporting and tracking around that yourselves? I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, and that's the meat and potatoes of the whole process is looking at this data. So we have a revenue formula calculator where we want to look at all the key measurements that will help a business understand where they are and where they could be.
Hmm.
And it's important also to note that every industry, every business is slightly different.
Yep.
Whether it's AOV, conversion rates, lead capture rate, you name it. But there's a variance. And the nice thing is we like to start from a benchmark and figure out where you are. So we like to look at your number of emails captured per month. We can look at lead capture rate, but really we want to look at that number of what you're capturing. Same with SMS. Then we want to look at your AOV. We want to look at your monthly traffic, and we want to look at your sales conversion rate. If you're doing anonymous visitor identification, we'd like to look at your identification percentage and your match rate, which is the most important part when it comes to anonymous visitor identification, because that's where the big variance in the industry comes.
Okay.
You can have anywhere, you can identify, say, 10% of your website traffic, and identify being, we can associate an email address with an anonymous visitor. Of that 10%, the accuracy of those email addresses varies widely in the industry.
Yeah.
Anywhere from 10 to 80%. It's a big range. So you have that role. So we like to plug in these numbers and then associate a lift in lead capture rate and sales conversion rate. And we achieve those lifts by looking at our 3 steps of the formula, from traditional capture to anonymous visitor identification to our conversion tactics. We talk about these aha moments. It's about getting numbers in front of your team or the leaders in your company. And if you sit down and you actually look at the number of shopping carts you have abandoned each month, the value of those carts, you get a number, a real number you can speak towards for your company. If you sit down with a client and you go, hey, look, you've had $36 million in products abandoned last month. What do you say and then you want to say, of that audience, what's their conversion rate? We'll take clients that are sitting between a 15 and a 20% sales conversion rate of visitors that have added an item to a cart, and take it from 20 to 35%.
Amazing. Okay.
By engaging with them.
How much is price the driver here? I think one of the things that when we're working with a client, especially one that's done that fast growth, self-started brand, exploded, COVID hit, now they've pushed into retailers and they're just sort of, the first thing that they're always thinking when they think about abandoned carts is price sensitivity. And that's the thing they always want to mess with. And it's also the thing they always want to object to any changes because they're probably tight on margins at this point. In your experience, how much of that abandonment really is just straight price sensitivity? How much of it is I'm at work and my boss happened to look over my shoulder? How much of it is that, you and I think are both working from home today? How much of that is the kids stepping into the office and I'm forgetting? So is
Yeah.
there, how do you think about that recovery? Is it a price thing that you always lead with? What percent of times is price the right answer? And maybe how can brands sort
Yeah.
of broaden the horizon a bit?
So great question. So it comes into consumer psychology and consumer needs and understanding those. It comes into putting yourself into the shoes of your consumer as a shopper yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That's we get into obsessing about knowing your customer and understanding how they shop, and like everything you just mentioned, it's same situation for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, we just had Amazon Prime Day and we just had items show up that my wife didn't even know she forgot were in the cart, like bottom accident.
Yep.
It's, which is another example of what are different. You mentioned like, if it's not price sensitivity, what else is it? Well, we know when it comes to cart abandonment that shipping remains one of the number one reasons people don't check out.
Mm-hmm.
Price sensitivity is another one. Trust. Can I trust this brand?
Yeah.
And so what I recommend is, and what we do is we A/B test.
Mm-hmm.
So we have our proven templates that we will run an A/B test against the different ones
Yeah.
and tweak them to speak to that brand's needs, and not needs, but values, whether it's the, free shipping, whatever their thresholds are, we can adjust.
Yeah.
And the other thing I like to do is, we're testing on a client right now where there was some apprehension. So I said, look, allow me to test on 30% of your traffic.
Mm.
This way, in 70%, we'll see nothing. So we have a control group of 70%. 30%, I'm going to allow me to prove to you the power of an exit offer for cart abandoners.
Mm-hmm.
And that way you reduce the risk. Because the other thing about that our audience is, I know that people are afraid of losing their job.
Yeah.
And when you work on site,
Mm-hmm.
you are front and center in front of the client, the customer.
Yep.
And so if you screw up, everyone sees it.
Yep.
And this is a world we've lived in for 15 years.
Yep.
We're
Mm-hmm.
part of the experience. So that's one way around it. The other is, what we were talking about previously before the show is, what happens during that checkout process?
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned the kid comes in, your boss comes over the shoulder.
Yeah.
It's important to understand that people will abandon a cart because they want to go to Amazon. They want to
Mm-hmm.
see if that item's listed there, and will guarantee shipping for free.
Yeah.
So speaking to those needs, you can speak to consumers. Like Shopify has their Shop Promise now, the
Mm-hmm.
plugin. Shipping apps have the shipping information that you put on your product page, but you also embed in the exit offer when they're
Mm-hmm.
released.
Cool. Now, looking
Right.
at some of the sort of the opportunities there. So again, kind of thinking about the journey a lot of brands go through when they're trying to solve the pain point. Usually, it starts with some Tylenol, and then it progresses to something stronger. I think low-hanging fruit for a lot of the brands that we've worked with is that, exit intent pop-up, trying to sort of keep that customer there with a coupon code or something. But I know that JustUno allows for more than that. It moves into a personalization story that is more targeted. What are some of the other ways that a brand can think about, again, maybe moving past Tylenol, moving past just a surface level treatment and into something that maybe is really getting at the heart of some of the issues?
Yeah, so we found it's all about laying the proper foundation, and we do that with capture, identify, and then convert as the third,
Hmm.
which third has, you know, 27 different steps that can be implemented. But
Mm.
the reality is you can't do it all in one day.
Yep.
And you can't do it. And you try to do too much, you fail. So we get the foundation in, and then, like you said, hey, let's start experimenting.
Mm.
So um, our team, our CS team has they have a lot of fun with this aspect of it, because what they get to do is start analyzing top exited pages,
Mm.
products, everything, so that they can create a message to an exiting visitor that is not discount driven,
Mm.
but speaks to say, hey, noticed you're leaving. Were you aware of, and we have placeholders. It's like our deal section. You know, did you know about our special technology with our
Mm.
product? They can speak to needs that they know their their customers may still have before they leave. So they can keep them in the funnel. And
Cool.
with that, we increase time on site, we
Hmm.
increase page views. So we keep them moving down the funnel, and also capture more data on the visitor.
Yeah, that's really really strong. I think like that's the there's those moments I think for each of us when we're shopping at an e-commerce store where it's always sort of like a get in or get out. One of the statistics I've loved to talk about with our clients is that if you can get them to navigate one more page, it does actually influence your conversion rate. If you can get that additional click, even if the click is to a privacy policy or something, that extra click actually does matter. Obviously you want to be more targeted than a privacy policy, but that sort of opportunity to keep engaged, you're sort of cutting off that mental pathway of like, I think I'm going to leave now. I'm going to abandon this cart. Not quite to the point of ready to buy. And that's great that JustUno helps address that.
The going back to, you kind of mentioned like the aha moments, or like recognizing problems, is that in Q4 last year, I think it was,
Mhm.
Klaviyo did a publication announcing their top 5 email flows. And 2 of the top 5 and the number 1 flow was their cart abandonment flow to generate revenue.
Okay. Hmm.
So we know that cart abandonment emails work.
Yep.
And I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. And so my message is, if you are sending these emails because you know they work, why aren't you trying to convert them at the point of them leaving, so you don't have to send that email?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it would work as a layered strategy. We've actually seen this. We've got a couple of shared clients. But I do agree. I mean, like one of the first things we'll onboard, because we do email, and if we're coming in just for that email sort of service line, one of the first things we're going to check is that abandonment sequence, because
Yeah.
it's just such a low hanging fruit of, that person was so close, and if you can get it to them at the right time with the right offer, you're really in a spot where that starts to generate net new revenue. And it's really valuable revenue because you've already spent all of the acquisition costs to get them to that bottom of funnel. And all of a sudden you're taking that and you're making it good instead of just letting it slip off into the Ethereum.
One of the hearing you talk maybe reminded me of our team's, another one of our CS team's favorite one is the dynamic shipping banner.
Okay. Yep.
Because what it does, if it's dynamic. So if you have a $99 free shipping threshold and you put a $50 item, it'll tell you need $49 more
Yep.
dollars.
Great. Hmm.
That's one of those, able to just kind of help speak to the customer all the way through,
Yeah.
which reinforces. It's all about reinforcement.
Well, and it also builds value, right? Like, I mean, the nice thing of that approach is we're not going backwards in price. We're actually going forwards in price, which is also really powerful because, again, sometimes I think part of the pain a retailer is experiencing, or a marketing or merchandising manager or e-commerce manager experiences, they think the only way to get conversion rate up is to drop the average ticket, drop the margins, and that may not actually be the case. That's a really good call out.
We have one client that has a really interesting promotion right now where it's an exit offer and it's skip the line. We'll expedite your order.
Okay. All right. I like it.
Right. It doesn't cost anything, but you're able to really a reason to speak to them. And
Yep. It's also in some ways it plays off of, it's distinct, but it plays off of that Amazon experience of buy
yeah,
now to get it shipped within so many hours. But it's unique, right? It's not actually something that I'm seeing rubber stamped on all the sites. So that's a really strong one. In terms of kind of case studies, sort of examples and anecdotes that you are always really fond of, speaking to sort of like, hey, we did this with a particular kind. I know JustUno, it's extraordinarily robust in helping to address sort of the range of needs that are related to conversion and abandonment. But specific ones where you sort of look at them and you're like, this is it. It all came together, and it really, really, it's a demonstrable. You've solved this pain, and that really helps you do so much more. Anyone like that?
we just finished an A/B test with a client that we were sharing throughout our company, which was exciting. Is that they've had a stagnant lead capture for years,
Mm.
and we said, look, we know that it's all about engaging with the client, with the visitors, and we ran what we call a shopper preference.
Okay.
We did a full screen shopper preference, and we identified the top 4 categories, and then we ran it against what they currently had, just a standard traditional center pop up asking for an email address.
Okay.
We saw it was a 45% increase, I think it was,
Okay.
like right away.
Hmm.
And then it went all the way up to, at the end of the case study or the A/B test, 110% improvement.
Wow. Okay.
Not just in lead capture, but we were also now able to pass the shopper preference into their ESP. So now when they send their email marketing newsletters, they know that they're able to send them on the product category that they're interested in.
That's great, and that helps too. That makes another team look good.
Yeah.
As a result, that's cool.
That brings up a good point about the different teams. Understanding the different size of organizations that are managing, and then also the agency, communicating the ROI back and attribution. That is something we're investing a lot of time and focus on right now, especially with the revenue formula, like, because it requires us to work in conjunction with the retargeting marketing team and everyone bringing it in and giving a dashboard that really showcases these numbers front and center. Another client that I love is it's so funny these days. Case studies are a little difficult because retailers don't want you sharing their special sauce.
Yep.
So you have to be general, which makes it a little difficult or really sensitive. But they are a lot of clients use 10% of software. And this particular client focuses 100% on the conversion aspect, not lead capture.
Okay.
And they do 2 things that I'll highlight. One is just straight cart abandonment, which they are in the 32 to 35% lead sales conversion rate with that audience segment of visitors leaving with a cart.
Great.
All in the cart. The second one is returning visitors to the website that had previously put an item in the cart. So they were the cart banners, which gets into the linguistics. I'm curious where you sit in terms of browse abandoner, window shopper, cart abandoner. These terms, we're working to really clearly define them.
Yeah.
Because some people say a cart banner is only someone that has left and comes back to the site.
Yep.
Anyhow, not important. But this visitor segment of returning cart abandoners, this is where the real money is. These are guaranteed 30% plus sales conversion rate. When they return, you show them, hey, you left this item in your cart.
Yep.
would you like to check out?
Hmm. Yep. And that moves the needle. It's a great case study. I think for us, we're always trying to we try and present it as a funnel because it does provide that incremental reporting opportunity. And it really creates a good intersection for our services because we do SEO, which is so often focused on top of funnel. It drives a lot of revenue through sort of a branded bottom of funnel, opportunity as well. But it's often, that top of funnel pressure, right? Everybody wants to see the top of funnel metrics shift, and they don't want to attribute anything in branded search to SEO, despite the reality of, that not so great review of the product could be drifting to the top if SEO wasn't doing its part either. Um, and part of what we try and get our clients to be thinking about is within each of these, where do we start to look at increasing value? Because again, that behavior is a little bit different for pay-per-click. How do we intersect with other marketing skills or other experiences that help drive certain outcomes? Do we maybe want to avoid someone's? You'd mentioned sort of that window shopper. Some of our clients, will specifically look at that window shopping experience as a negative, and we'll quantify that with them. We'll say like, hey, part of our goal is actually to keep them from window shopping. We want them to stay focused on that top 2 product because that top 2 product converts really well. And we find that when someone is window shopping on your site, that increases the abandonment rate rather than going away. And so I'd rather have them engage with more content presented in different ways on a single product page or a layered product page where maybe there's some different experiences that are attached to it. And part of what we found with abandonment is that if we can get a different piece of that content in front of them, I keep them out of that browsing window shopping mode. But I do find that they actually still come back and still convert better. And all I'm really doing is just introducing a new flavor of the same thing that they had before. And it didn't require any discounting. It didn't require really a lot of innovation because that content's already present. We just knew that they weren't engaging or interacting with it.
Yeah. So what you're describing there is trust and building the trust with the visitor before you move in for the sale. And oftentimes websites make the mistake of as soon as someone arrives, especially if they're coming from organic, which has a high bounce rate, why are you hitting me with a 10% off discount right now? That's not like, I don't even know if I want to shop with you.
Yep.
So let's speak to them about trust building. Let's say, hey, and especially it's all about segmenting your audiences and building personalized journeys on your site.
Yep.
So if you know that SEO is a big channel for your client, you can segment out that traffic and speak to them separately.
Yep.
And have dynamic messaging to them to help them through, continue through the journey.
Yep. And looking at, one of the things I enjoy doing with some of our brands is, especially as they look at a new channel, and one of the things we fight against is this perception that new channel means new audience, means new reason for shopping. That's not always the case. And so a lot of times we'll have like a great brand doing super well on social media. TikTok is just the thing for them. And they're trying to now add SEO to the mix. And to them, they think SEO is everything new with really great cart abandonment follow-ups and sequences. We're actually able to say, like, I can take that TikTok content that this person has never seen, isn't going to watch because they're not a TikTok user, but I can put that into a GIF in an email. I can use that even in an exit modal where all of a sudden, I'm back to maybe entertaining them. Maybe that was the hook that's so successful elsewhere. And I can take what is driving conversion strength in one channel and I can repurpose it for other channels. And we can A/B test that, which is really, I think, a fantastic thing. And what it does is it builds that trust. There's this affinity for the brand, confidence in the brand. The things that work really well to convert one customer often will work elsewhere. And you have to sort of think maybe beyond that channel specific mindset.
Yeah. And that's where, working with all these clients like yourself is how do we come up with a repeatable model that we can apply to multiple brands as a foundation while then also applying the uniqueness of that brand needs to the model.
Yeah. It's always a good, like the value of the right partner, the right tech solution. And you guys talked about your playbook as being like a really key piece of what makes you so successful? Like when you're working with many different brands, over 100,000 clients, I think I saw, right? So,
In the premium.
yep. And so you got this big footprint and able to offer value and success with those because you have that perspective as to what works and are able to provide that to others. If we're to sort of kind of wrap our conversation today, and again, maybe speaking to the brand that maybe is in that spot of, I have a sense that I could do better. Again, that sort of slightly Bernie sensation, center right of chest, but I don't totally know what to do to really understand and quantify that. What would be the first thing you do just to say, like, to really identify if there is something to look at further? And then maybe as a follow-up, what are the first treatment steps that you'd recommend as somebody who lives and breathes in this space all the time?
Well, first off, I would say that 99.99% of websites can be optimized better. Not a single client I've ever worked with didn't have an opportunity right front and center. So there's so much low hanging fruit for every business. And so it's okay, well, where do you start? And that's where we look at what technologies and strategies are available present day.
Yep.
That don't require a heavy lift and can make a big impact. And in the SaaS space that I've been in the last 15 years, what we've really seen in the most recent months is a desire, if you're going to add a tool to your quiver, it's got to be plug and play, or they got to be able to help you.
Yep.
And it's got to, and with agencies, what's great is we work, agencies yourselves, you leverage partners like us to help with the plug and play.
Yep.
Then we can work with you with the retargeting. So, where to start? It would say, hey, look for a solution that offers that type of service.
Yep.
And then when it comes to, making a mark on this $18 billion problem we're facing and the 97% of visitors leaving, it really is, let's look at your lead capture rate. Have you employed the newest technology of anonymous visitor identification? Are you offering real-time exit offers for people abandoning carts?
Yeah.
And are you working with your agency partner to retarget every single cart abandoner, lead captured with first and zero party data, and then the anonymous visitors?
Good. Yeah, all great points. And I think what I love about it is that there is such confidence that each one of them does move the needle. It does make an impact. And it's sort of a yes or no. If you are doing it now, then you're probably on the better side of that, maybe losing less of that $18 billion. But if you're not, there's an opportunity for you to take some of that cash back out of that large pool of pain and put it back in your pocket. And again, one of the beautiful things is it's repeatable, right? You talked about sort of that baseline earlier in the call. You move that and it tends to stay moved, which is, so often when we're talking about marketing and improvements, it's like Prime Day, right? Amazon moves the needle for the weekend, but it doesn't move the needle for, the next 6 months. It's not going to move the needle for BFCM, but stuff like this does.
Well, and that's the thing. We get your foundational in place, and we'll through all the means of more leads to retarget and market, higher sales conversion rate, we'll see that revenue lift immediately. Yeah. When we implement this, you literally same day will see leads start increasing. You'll see carts, and so that's the exciting part. And then once you got a taste of like, oh my God, why haven't I been doing this?
Yeah.
You then in the conversion start ticking down the list of what else could we do? And then you start getting into the real fun stuff. And where to start as well as go look at your cart abandonment emails you're sending right now. And you essentially can take that same content and use that in the pop-ups.
Yep.
But the whole point about the ability to replicate this is on our side, it comes down to having templates that are scalable, having our team's ability to pull in the information needed to deploy, and then launching. and we're working like streamlining this process. I love operational efficiencies.
Yep.
So quick, when you get a yes, you can spin it up within 24 hours and be live. Most websites already have a pop-up.
Yep.
You can pull from, and they already have the abandonment workflows in the ESP. So everything's ready, plug and play. It's just a matter of getting it live and going.
Now, I know we've had some conversations. There's an offer that's available for JustUno, people listening to the podcast here. What's that offer? What's the best way to get in touch with your team? What's sort of helpful for them to bring to that kickoff, to that conversation that'll really ensure that conversation is valuable? And as they move from maybe the free, which is a really cool, powerful free tool, I'll call that out. That freemium is emphasis on the medium. Piece of it. I don't know if that works. So give us sort of a little bit of that lay of that. What are great next steps for a brand that's interested in helping resolve this pain?
Yeah, Travis, my co-founder, and I, we're still very much involved. We love talking with retailers. If it's not us, it's one of our core team members. But we want to see the revenue formula active on every single website. We have the ability to spin them up really quick. So if you have interest, if this sparks a thought like, yes, we can activate this within 24 hours and let you test it for free. Your trial doesn't start till we go live. And then you have 2 weeks of data to prove out the value. If you just go to justuno.com/revenue formula, we have a calculator there for you, and you can plug in your information, your data, and give a sense of what we hope to achieve and go from there. Also, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active on there, and the Conversion Show podcast as well.
Very cool. I really appreciate your time today. It's always great connecting with someone who's had that similar path through the e-commerce lands and has done it really well. Just again, we've got a couple of clients who are mutual between us and have been a big part of sort of their journey and their ability to really maximize what we're doing on the acquisition side of things. So really excited to continue working together. Thanks, Erik, for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jordan.
All right. Bye.